You are not avoiding the task because you do not care. You are sitting at your desk, the thing open in front of you, and your hand keeps drifting somewhere else. Another tab, another video, another tiny errand that suddenly feels urgent. You tell yourself you will start in 5 minutes. Then you check the time, feel a small punch in your chest, and somehow 5 minutes has turned into 40. The room is quiet, but your body is not. Your jaw is tight. Your mouth feels dry. Your skin sticks to the chair. The cursor blinks like it is asking a question you do not want to answer. And the strangest part is that you are not relaxed. You are not enjoying the escape. You are watching yourself not do the thing, while another part of you gets louder and meaner about it. It feels like a fire alarm that learned to go off when you look at your own life. This is not laziness. A lot of the time, procrastination is protection that lost its sense of scale. So if this pattern is supposed to protect you, why does it make your life smaller? Today, we're going to break down why delaying the thing can feel safer than doing it, what your mind is protecting you from, and how to work with that pattern without turning yourself into the enemy. Welcome back. Let's get started. Procrastination looks simple from the outside. You had a task. You did not do it. So people assume the missing piece is discipline. That explanation feels clean. It is also too small. Because when you are truly just bored, the task is annoying. When you are protecting yourself, the task feels heavier than the task should feel. An email feels like exposure. A form feels like judgment. A project feels like proof. One message feels like someone might finally see how behind you are. So you do not only avoid work, you avoid the feeling that comes attached to starting. Your brain is not asking, "Is this useful?" It is asking, "What will happen to me if I touch this?" And if the answer even smells like shame, failure, conflict, disappointment, or being trapped, the system pulls you away before you can explain yourself out of it. This can happen so quickly that it barely feels like a decision. You open the document, read the first line, and your chest tightens. Then your brain offers a bargain. Clean the desk first. Answer one easy message first. Watch one short video first, just to get into the mood. The bargain sounds reasonable because it is not screaming. It is calm. Helpful even. Suspiciously helpful. Then the easy thing gives you a small drop of relief, and relief teaches the pattern to come back. Avoidance is powerful because it works immediately, not long-term, not deeply, not in any way that actually fixes the problem. But right now, in the next 10 seconds, it lowers pressure. Your nervous system likes that. It does not care that tomorrow gets worse. It cares that the alarm got quieter for a moment. That is why you can understand the problem perfectly and still repeat it. Insight does not automatically beat relief. Your body learns through what reduces threat fastest. If avoiding the task makes your stomach unclench, even for a minute, your brain takes notes. Then shame makes the loop sharper. After avoiding, you attack yourself. You call yourself weak, lazy, useless, behind, broken. Now the task is no longer just a task. It is attached to the voice that punishes you. Next time you approach it, your brain remembers the whole package: the document, the dry mouth, the tight chest, the self-disgust afterward. So it protects you earlier. You do not wait until the task hurts. You avoid it before it can hurt. That is how procrastination becomes automatic. Not because you are careless, but because the starting line has become linked with pain. At some point, your mind may have learned that action was risky. It starts treating delay as shelter. And from the inside, shelter feels smarter than movement. The deeper problem is that protection does not always update when your life changes. Your brain can keep using an old rule in a new room. A task today may not be dangerous, but it can still press the same button. The spreadsheet is not your childhood. The email is not a courtroom. The messy project is not proof that you are worthless. But your body does not respond to the philosophy of the situation. It responds to association. This is why advice like "just start" can feel insulting. Of course, starting matters. You already know that. The issue is that starting is the moment your system expects pain. So when someone says, "just do it," they are asking you, to walk directly toward the thing your body marked as unsafe, with no plan for the alarm that goes off. You do not need a louder inner drill sergeant. You need to make the first contact less threatening. That begins by changing what the task means. Not in a fake positive way, in a smaller, more honest way. Instead of, I need to finish this, the first job may be, I need to look at it for 2 minutes and not attack myself. That sounds too small because shame likes dramatic contracts. Shame wants the whole life fixed by Tuesday. Your nervous system needs a doorway it can actually walk through. So the first win is contact without punishment. Open the file. Read one sentence. Name what your body does. Tight chest, warm face, restless hand, urge to escape. Then stay for a few breaths without negotiating with the alarm. You are not trying to feel motivated. You are teaching your system that touching the task does not automatically lead to harm. The smallest safe repetition matters more than the biggest forced sprint. Because forced sprints often confirm the old fear. You push yourself brutally, crash afterward, and your brain says, see, this is why we avoid. So the work has to be boringly repeatable. 5 minutes with a soft landing beats 3 hours of panic-fueled productivity, followed by collapse. That is why the tone you use with yourself is not decoration. It changes what your brain predicts will happen when you start. If starting always leads to an internal beating, avoidance becomes logical. You sit down. You touch the task. You make it smaller than your pride wants and safer than your fear expects. Then, you stop before you turn it into punishment again. Over time, that teaches the alarm a new pattern. You are allowed to ask what the delay is protecting. Is it protecting you from failing? From being judged? From finding out you are behind? From finishing and then having no excuse left? From succeeding and having people expect more? That question is uncomfortable because it removes the simple insult. It is easier to say, I am lazy, than to admit, I am scared of what happens when I try. Lazy feels like a character flaw. Fear has a story, and stories can be worked with. You do not beat protection out of yourself. You retrain it. You make the next action smaller. You remove the punishment from starting. You let ugly first attempts exist. You build proof that effort can happen without self-attack. The file opens. The breath gets tight. You stay anyway, but only for the amount you promised. That is how safety gets rebuilt. Not by proving you can suffer through everything, by proving you can approach something hard without abandoning yourself. So no, you are not just procrastinating. Some part of you has been standing between you and the task, convinced it is standing between you and pain. Thank it for trying. Then teach it the difference between real danger and a blinking cursor. If you want more uncomfortable but useful truths about your mind explained clearly, subscribe.